What is Singapore? Who is Singapore? Why is Singapore Singapore? What makes Singaporeans Singaporean? What is so special about Singaporeans that make them Singaporeans and not Malaysians or Indonesians? What's special about Singapore that attracts so many people? Is it just a first world country that has experienced a growth spurt within the span of 10 years that has enabled its citizens to enjoy a comfortable standard of living and des questions. Je m'appelle Javon, j'ai 29 ans, mais j'en ai l'air 18. J'habite à Singapour. Je me rappelle d'être dressé par mes parents parce que j'étais trop naughty. J'ai des passages.
Et pourquoi quand tu dis qu'ils te dressaient, ils te punissaient sévèrement
Non, ils m'ont battu
Avec quoi?
avec le mar ou une canne.
Une canne.
Ouais. Alors je pense qu'en Asie, c'est assez courant de discipliner les enfants comme ça.
Est-ce que toi tu pourrais faire ça aussi à tes enfants?
Ouais, je
Les
pense
taper?
que c'est la discipline, c'est important. Ah, mon éducation. J'ai pas aimé aller à l'école. À la fin de l'école primaire, j'ai dû passer les examens où j'ai très bien réussi. Du coup, c'est à partir de ce moment-là que j'ai appris le français. J'étais un bon élève et c'était fun. Je me suis fait beaucoup plus d'amis parce que je suis devenu plus sage. Je suis quelqu'un qui n'est pas ambitieux, dans le sens où je prévois pas ce que je veux faire. Et je pense qu'à Singapour, c'est très simple parce qu'en tant qu'étudiant, t'as qu'à travailler dur, t'as qu'à réussir tes études, et c'est tout. Et j'avais l'impression que le chemin va se tracer tout seul. Et je pense qu'à Singapour, on est très pragmatique. S'il faut bien réussir, forcément il faut choisir des matières qui sont les matières faciles.
Did I have time to think?
Yeah, sure. Would you like
Okay.
me to go on to the second question? Or?
Conflicted, comfortable, and cosmopolitan.
I describe it as multicultural, lots of food, and a lot of whining.
I guess Singapore is conflicted, contented, and naive.
Mine would be clean, safe, developed.
Herd mentality. They like to just queue for things, or when they see people doing something, they also want to be part of it, so they will tend to follow.
Rich in culture,
Rich in culture,
clean and well developed.
well developed.
Hot, safe, and too strict.
And Singapore is a very expensive, fine, what do I want to say? Expensive, fine, and strict city. Okay, 3 words.
It would be peaceful, friendly, and boring.
Good. Okay, number one.
Define Singapore in 3 words.
3 words or 3 phrases or 3 qualities.
Something
But
which something
not
you
safe, not expensive, and not clean.
feel, something which is personal to you.
Yeah,
what
something
what
that-
is your impression if you had to say? Well, what do you feel your life is in Singapore?
Clean, safe, and also with high standard of living.
Qualities. How would you describe Singapore?
Driven.
Clean, expensive.
Not expensive, not safe, and not clean.
Yeah,
And
she
it's a
doesn't.
word.
Everyone say expensive, clean, safe. So if you can use other words,
How else? Alright.
boring. Oh,
Stressful, and how would I say? Okay, I would mainly say it more on negative points.
No,
yeah,
sure,
so
sure.
yeah, so I would say it as stressful and also with high standard of living. Yeah.
Stressful, high standard. Okay, thank you. There's too much censorship, for example. There's so many things.
Small.
Small, okay.
Singaporeans want things a bit too fast because things here move so fast and we expect things to be fast, and if you can't keep up to the pace, people will feel irritated, why can't it be just that pace fast enough?
Very dead or daily life is around the same every day.
Every day is
Yeah, and
Fast pace.
fast pace.
very good. Any more?
Boring.
Boring. Yeah.
Alors j'ai passé 5 ans en France et c'était bittersweet, amer et douce, doux, ouais. Enfin c'était fun mais c'était difficile aussi. J'y suis allé en 2005, j'avais 21 ans et j'étais pas à Paris, j'étais dans les banlieues, j'étais à zone 3, dans une petite ville qui s'appelle Châtenay-Malabry. Je pense qu'en la première semaine de mon arrivée en France, j'ai dû ouvrir un compte bancaire. C'était la galère. J'avais rien compris, la dame elle pensait que j'étais con. Et j'ai dû acheter une carte de SIM, je sais pas, j'ai pas su, je savais pas comment dire SIM card en français. Et la dame elle me croyait attardée quoi. Elle me croyait japonais aussi. Mais j'aime bien la France quand même, malgré tous ces aspects négatifs. Je pense que pour chaque pays, il y a toujours des côtés négatifs. Il faut juste se concentrer sur les positifs.
personally, I feel very Singaporean. I'm very proud to be Singaporean. Extremely proud to be Singaporean. Why? I don't know. This is home. I don't know any other home. And I think at that time, my identity of being a Singaporean and how I developed that identity through language, through my own ethnic background, recognizing things in myself that were probably very different from perhaps other Chinese outside. Recognizing, for example, things like I might be told I'm Chinese, but there are elements in my own family history and heritage that point to other things that might not be what someone might consider as a pure Chinese. You know, my grandfather being actually adopted into a Chinese family, but not actually being of Chinese heritage. The languages that I spoke, and I remember very distinctly an episode where someone from China had come and referred to us as overseas Chinese, Hua Qiao. The term that was used was Hua Qiao. Oh, you guys are Hua Qiao. And I remember being very offended by that term. At that time, I know I was still sorting out what it meant to be Chinese in relation to being Singaporean. And then this person says this to me, and I remember feeling really uncomfortable and offended. And I said, I am not what you term as an overseas Chinese. I am not. That is not my relationship to the rest of China. It's interesting to think about that, because then, of course, the whole question of who is Singaporean, right? Are all Singaporean Chinese? Are you Chinese first, Singaporean? This question of how do you introduce yourself? I am Chinese Singaporean. I'm Singaporean Chinese. You know, this whole issue, and then all the different ethnic groups that you see around you. Who is Chinese, and who among all those Chinese people are Singaporean?
C'est un pays très unique aussi. On peut pas vraiment. On a du mal à identifier le pays, à qualifier le pays, à définir le pays, parce que c'est pas comme les autres pays où il y a un peuple homogène, disons. C'est vraiment très métisé, très varié, très comment on dit colorful? Coloré. Non, il y a un autre mot. I think Singapore is a huge melting pot of a lot of cultures, a lot of languages, and a lot of influences. So we had a British colonial past, but the media that we are exposed to is very much predominantly American. And I think this has an impact on our psyche, on the way we think, our lingo, what we perceive as cool or not. And this has somehow colored our vision and our perception of the world. And this has inevitably also defined our very, the essence of being Singaporean. And I think as a Singaporean, language is very much a cornerstone that defines our identity. We speak English. English is the common language that binds us all here. But we have also 3 other official languages: Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil. And there's of course Singlish, which is the Creole that every true blue Singaporean will speak.
Please mind the platform gap. Doors are closing.
I think anyone would want to create a distinction for themselves. So when you are in Singapore, I think your ethnic identity becomes very real and very important. And I remember at the time when I was trying to decide on my first signature, right? Because it's all official now, I have to sign things, I'm old enough. And I deliberately chose to have my signature in Chinese characters. And it still is. But in the last few years, with all this debate about the influx of migrants, immigrants coming into Singapore, people from China coming in, and I find that now I almost regret having done that. Because when I go into the shops now and I buy things and I have to sign the credit card shit and my signature is in Chinese, right? A lot of service people who are from China immediately start to expect me to speak Mandarin and to be Chinese. And I don't want to be Chinese. All of a sudden, I don't want to be Chinese in my own country when all my life being Chinese was what gave me an identity in Singapore. And all of a sudden, in Singapore, I don't want to be Chinese. Not that I want to be any other ethnic group. I don't want to be any other ethnic. I just want to be Singaporean. I want to be identified as Singaporean. And it's terrible, right? But when people speak to me in Chinese, sometimes I deliberately respond in English, and I deliberately make it a known fact that in my country, our working language is English and my national language is Malay. I may not speak Malay, but that is where I come from. I mean, that's what it is where I come from, right? These are the languages that we speak here, and I don't need Chinese to survive. I should not need Chinese to survive in my country.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible for me to describe myself so easily and so completely in this documentary. So I think in order to define myself, I would have to explain what my belief system is, the values I hold and cherish, and my opinions basically on why I think something is correct or why something is wrong, and why I should do something, why I should feel something, why I should think like that. I think the way I think, the way I feel, the way I conduct myself, all this define who I am as a person, and it's quite a lot to encapsulate in succinctly in an answer.
We look very westernized, we try and follow modern cultures, but at the end of it, at the heart of things, we are still very China. We're still very Chinese oriented. We still have our Chinese roots, and we still believe in a lot of things like Fida Pai Tea, having regular dinners with the family. Chinese New Year is also very important to us.
Excellent. Okay, and how was Singapore when your parents were 20 years old?
I think it was a lot less industrialized, a lot less modern, more traditional. So I expect that they experience a lot more of the rich heritage that they come from. Yeah.
Okay, whereas now we don't experience it.
Yeah, it's very
diluted.
Mm-hmm. I think owning a car when my parents were 20 was quite a big thing. Owning a TV, not so big. I think everybody had a house. Not everybody has a car, but they are pretty satisfied with the transport system. Not like now, everybody's complaining. Yeah. Even though we all have cars, we are still complaining.
It was more simplistic back then, like with less complications, like of the modern world. So they probably were happier because there are less things to worry about.
Fun.
They are more fun than what we had.
They are fun. They are more easygoing, not that tied up, carefree, not that tied up. Yeah, not that stressful anymore. Not that stressful. Not as stressed now.
No, when I was a kid, I'm much happier. You play all kinds of things. You don't need to have so many toys, gadgets, devices. Basically, everybody is like on the phone. They are on the iPad. They don't communicate. They don't talk.
But his question asked that.
I'm not happier. I'm not happier. Last time is more happier.
Your parents are happier, you think, than your are right
But
now?
it's different. Last time parents, they have 10 children.
Yeah, but can they still be happy back then, even with 10?
I can't speak for my parents. I don't know, man.
What do you think?
Our parents were probably more naive. we are more connected to the world now. So I do think that while Singaporeans in general, I still believe that they are naive, but they are less naive than we are less naive than the previous generation.
Typical of Singaporeans, for example, in Singapore we like to say "kiang su, kiang si, kiam siap," which means afraid to lose, afraid to die, and stingy. A lot of our ancestors were born in very poor households, and so they've learned to appreciate the value of thriftiness, the value of saving, the value of not splurging unnecessarily and stupidly. And as a result of this value having been inculcated through the generations, plenty of Singaporeans these days are quite stingy. They are willing to spend on themselves. They can spend lots of money on a branded pair of shoes, a bag, an expensive holiday, but they are less willing to spend on others. And I don't think that any of these three characteristics or traits that I've mentioned so far are typical only to Singapore and Singaporeans. I think after having spent 6 years overseas, I would say that a lot of first world countries and their citizens exhibit these traits as well.
I'm pretty happy with how things are right now, so I'm not sure whether I'm happier than them. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so. Yeah. Because my parents already married at my age. I'm still single, I guess. So in a sense, I've not met my need for a partner. Yeah, I've not fulfilled that need.
Yeah, so you think that need would give you the happiness that you need?
Possibly, yes.
So I imagine it must be a time where families spend more time together. Now, because of the people tend to live apart, especially after they get married, and because of conveniences, people eat out more and eat away from their family a lot more than before.
For me, I think my parents are happy because we have more children. They had 7 children. Out of the 7, 2 or 3 take care of them. They are happy. But right now, we only have 2 children. We got to defend ourselves to make ourselves to be able to live. And we as children still take care of our parents. But nowadays, the kids don't take care of their parents. It's not they don't take care. They can't even take care of themselves. Come on, when we are young, right? We start on the streets when we are young. We work when we are young. We go McDonald's and work. We go KFC and work. Nowadays, the children is like, Mom, money. Thank God I have no children.
My parents didn't give me anything to start with. They didn't give me, of course they provided me with education, but after that when I started working, it's all on my own. But I look at my parents, they don't rely on their parents. Like they paid for their own education. My parents paid for mine. So I'm looking at my son and I'm thinking, okay, I probably have to pay for his education. Now I'm thinking, with the rising prices of houses, do I have to pay for his house? Do I have to pay for his wedding? Do I have to pay for his girlfriend? Oh gosh.
I'm not sure when they would describe their time as happy. And I'm not saying they are not happy in their. I just didn't know if they felt happy.
But if you were to make a guess, if you were to
I think it's more challenging these days to make a living. So I would say I have it a lot better, but I probably won't be happier than them.
moi, le bonheur, c'est quelque chose d'assez profond. Il ne s'agit pas d'avoir trouvé la bonne personne. Il ne s'agit pas de trouver ma moitié ou de trouver un bon boulot. Je pense vraiment qu'il s'agit plus du côté religion et spiritualité. Parce que je pense qu'en ce moment, il y a un vide dans ma vie qui ne se remplit pas avec des gens ou de l'alcool ou de la bouffe, même pas des vacances. Je pense que c'est vraiment quelque chose qui est lié à la satisfaction de moi-même, d'être content de l'état de ma vie. Et ça englobe beaucoup de choses, genre ma carrière, ma famille, mon amour, ma religion, tout. Enfin, it's not something I can really put my finger on.
Of course, it's easier to be happy.
No, I don't agree.
But I feel happier than them.
No, but when they were your age, are you able to say with such certainty that you're happier than them? I don't think that is something that we can.
Because at their age, they just want to get married, have a job, have kids.
I know, but if they were able to meet their goals, would it mean that they are therefore?
Okay, but personally, I cannot empathize with how they perceive happiness. Cause they could be happy, but I don't see it for myself. I cannot feel it for myself.
I mean, if you were to go to, so your happiness has nothing to do with the material luxury goods that you have, the fact that you can travel whenever you want. So it's a purely mental state of liberty that
I think it's the freedom, the choices, it's the availability of choices that I feel that makes me happy, and they didn't have those options or choices.
So if I were to take away all your holidays, you have no money to travel, you would still be happy. You're not able to buy all the luxury goods you want by the very fact that you are.
No, but okay, I'm happy because if I want anything, I can work and I'll get it. But for them, they could work, but they'll just get by.
Okay, so happiness is not entirely just linked to the fact that you can have your own options. It's also linked to the capability
access,
to earn.
Yeah, the access to options.
So there's a materialistic angle to your happiness. Possessions,
Material.
tangibles, traveling, food.
Tangibles and
cooking,
intangibles
food.
both,
Okay,
yeah.
alright. I think we are very lucky. Yeah.
We're almost 50, right? Singapore's almost 50, we'll be 50 next year. And you're asking yourself this question, at 50, what have I achieved and what will I do next? Singapore is an accidental nation, right? We didn't want to be Singapore. We became Singapore because we got kicked out, right? We're probably the only country in the world that has this dubious record of being a country because people didn't want us. Other people fight for their independence. Singapore was shoved independence without wanting it. I think that is a problem that no one wants to talk about. But that is exactly what happened to us. So as the new kid on the block back then, almost 50 years ago, we had a bad rap. We started off with a bad reputation because we were the unwanted kid. So we suffered from a bad ego bashing, right? And we needed to build up that ego. And so Singapore was on a mission. We were on a mission to become better than everybody else. And we did. I think the government found what was the easiest way to build identity upon. And it was through economics. We're going to build our identity on the fact that we can become an economic success. So everyone's attention was just focused on that. We will be a country that will survive. We don't have obvious natural resources, but we have a human resource, and we're gonna become capable. We're gonna become rich. We're gonna end up living more comfortably than everybody else, and that is the same goal that all of you will work towards.
Je suis pas très heureux à Singapour. Je pense que c'est d'une part dû au temps. Il fait l'été toute l'année, c'est chiant. J'aime bien les 4 saisons. C'est bien d'avoir un changement de climat, de température, de voir de la neige, de faire la pique-nique en été. Même mettre les écharpes, des bottes, tout ça. Comment on dit le bonnet par exemple. Tout ça, ça fait en sorte que tu éprouves un changement dans ta vie. Alors qu'à Singapour, bien qu'il fait beau tout le temps, parfois ça peut être assez chiant. À part ça, je suis content dans ma vie. Mes amis sont là. Je suis bien à Singapour. Je gagne bien la vie. Je peux voyager quand je veux, autant que je veux. Je suis dans mon élément ici. Mais quand j'étais à l'étranger, j'étais aussi dans mon élément. Et c'était dans le sens où je peux vraiment me comporter d'une façon assez libérale. Libre. Et ouais.
Because we gave up personality. We became such a focused country, right, that where did the personality go, you know? We're trying to find our personality now. But whose personality should it be? Yours? Mine? His? And so you have all these people now coming out and saying, yeah, what does it mean to be Singaporean? You know, are Singaporeans precisely the type of people who do nothing but study as a child, work their asses off as adults, you know? Are Singaporeans people who know how to have fun, party all night, work all day, 24/7, no rest, you know? Are we a city that really never sleeps, right? Are we a nation that is so built up that there's no sense of rest because there's no place to rest? There's very little to share with my children that, oh, this is where mommy used to, you know, or this is where mommy used to, there's nowhere. This is where grandpa used to. It's funny, it's like we go down to the Singapore Art Museum, and I deliberately tell my daughter whenever we pass the museum, this is where grandpa used to go to school. Is it still a school? No, it's not. What is it now? It's a museum. Oh, but grandpa used to study here. Yes, grandpa used to study in a museum. No, it wasn't a museum when grandpa was there, you know? But yeah, that's how it is. And my own school's not there anymore because they pulled it down to build. It's still the same school, but the building is new. So it looks nothing like when I was a kid. We have grown up so practical for the last 50 years. Sometimes I think we don't know any other way except to be practical.
Ma génération parle beaucoup plus anglais. Et les gens du troisième âge, ils ne parlent pas tous anglais. Ouais. Alors au niveau communication, c'est déjà dur. Et au niveau pensée aussi, niveau tendance, ça n'a rien à voir quoi, entre ces deux générations. Je pense aussi qu'on est une génération qui est très opinée, qui a une forte opinion dans beaucoup de domaines. C'est pas forcément correct ou bien dans tous les domaines, mais je pense que si l'État, si le gouvernement pouvait nous écouter et d'en tirer quelques leçons, ça pourrait vachement améliorer les choses dans ce pays-là.
If you all can change something about Singapore, what would you all change?
The
weather.
The government.
And for you?
Some of the laws that being over controlled in Singapore.
Government lah.
Yeah.
Regarding what? Regarding what? Censorship? Or for I don't know, the gay people or education, the poorer
Education,
people?
they are quite.
I think
okay.
education is very good.
Yeah.
But it really sometimes it's over already. It makes some kids really very stressful. Because now I see kids, they are like, wow. Like my time I was like, studying, okay, now their parents want them to go to what course. Okay, now
So other than education, what else would you
government I think government, they all take care more. They all only
more to the fine things.
Yeah, they all the fine things, and they take care the rich people more than we all.
so?
Yeah.
Yes, we do think so. Every time they say this, but they are using our money to do that.
I just hope that the people will be more helpful towards each other. Like this morning, my husband said he got no phone to contact me. He tried to borrow and said, "I give you money. I just need to borrow a phone call." The people go like, like as though like it's creating a crime like this. People are not helpful with each other nowadays. If you can help, by all means help. It's like, but no, they are worried of you. Everybody is like scared. Just to borrow a handphone.
I think we lose out to some countries that they actually know what is gratitude. Be thankful of what you have.
Be helpful.
Be thankful of what you
everybody
have.
is happy.
And like I used to tell her, it's not that one person bake the cake themselves and eat themselves. There's no meaning. Everybody put a part and make the cake and share the cake and eat. You will not get bloated out.
Qu'est-ce qui nous manque? C'est sûrement pas quelque chose de tangible. Parce que là, on a tout. Je sais pas, une connaissance de soi-même. De l'empathie vers les autres. A sense of caring, a sense of empathy. We lack a bigger spirit, a bigger heart. Everyone's self-centered, self-occupied. It's a very egocentric world, and I think it doesn't only apply to Singapore, I think it applies to a lot of first world countries. Everyone is just obsessed with his or her own happiness. Parce que je suis d'origine chinoise, je pense que c'est important d'apprendre le mandarin. Je pense que c'est primordial même pour reconnaître mes racines, de connaître ma culture et tout. Mais il faut dire quand même que ça ne veut pas dire qu'il faut que je connaisse la Chine. C'est plutôt la culture, la langue, la bouffe surtout. Quoi d'autre, ouais, qui sont plus qui doivent être soulignés, quoi, plutôt que le pays même.
It is not the way we look that will identify us as Singaporean. It's the way we sound, the way we behave, the way we do things, the things we look for. That is what identifies a Singaporean from another. You know, it's like this friend recounted a story. She's kind of fair, so some people may again think, oh, you're not as dark skinned as other Singaporeans, right? She's kind of fair. And she had gone to visit someone in an HDB estate, a housing estate. She'd gone to the lift, and she recounted this experience because she said when she got into the lift, there was this elderly uncle who immediately started passing some snide remarks about foreigners, obviously targeted at her. And then she immediately said, "Aiya, uncle, all Singaporean, why need to be like that? Okay lah, it's no problem, you know." So the moment she started speaking Singlish and all that, she said this elderly gentleman's whole disposition, demeanor just softened, and it was suddenly all okay, you know. So it's people don't look out for Singaporeans. I think people listen for Singaporeans, and that's why. Perhaps maybe at the end of it all, what identifies us is something that can't be seen. You know, it's all in here. And it's the same for the deaf, for the hearing, the language that we use. You know, it's all. So that's what I think it is to be Singaporean.
We may appear all hard, shiny, new, shiny and happy, but I think deep inside there's a heart. It's not easily found. There's a heartbeat. It's not easily found, but if you listen in the silence, if you take away all the hustle and bustle, there is a heartbeat, but you need to be able to hear it. You need to search for it. You need to listen carefully, and then you can hear it, and then you can discern it. And even in discerning it, you will not be able to capture the entirety of it because it's not a heartbeat that's regular, that's pulsating. It's a heartbeat that's made up of millions of heartbeats of other people, many cultures, a lot more languages. There's an identity, but it takes time to identify it. It's not going to be so easily. It's not something you can place your finger on just by spending 2 years here. And I beg to differ from a lot of expats who think that they've Singapore down pat. They think that they know Singapore well just because they lived here or they've mixed around with the locals. I think it takes a lot more than that to be able to know what Singapore is, how she really functions as a country. Each and every entity plays a very important role. But I think it's a beautiful mystery, somewhat, in not knowing the unknown, in not really knowing, or rather in not being able to use any words in any language to describe Singapore in its in her full splendor. I think that there's a certain magic in it. Its essence is not something that you can describe in words. I think it's something that you feel. I mean, you have to peel away all the cliches. You have to brainwash yourself, literally. You have to deduct away all the articles that you have read, all the cliches that you have known, all the nonsense that people have been telling you. You have to experience it for yourself. You have to see it. You have to dig deeper into the heartland. You have to dig deeper below the efficiency, below the convenience of daily life here. You have to experience it for yourself. Yeah.
Stop.